Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are going back to that horror world known as the JRC. But before we get going, a few disclaimers. First off, the reason why I'm so early today forewent the exercise. Why? Well, folks. Did we meet Mr. Paul? Got discharged from the hospital today after being up there 2 weeks. So I had to, about an hour ago or two ago, haul ass back up there, grab him, bring him home, and take him to the back room where everything's a little bit more accessible for him. So good news on that front. The other front is, God, I hope the rest of my freaking return comes tomorrow. Because I'd be broke, and I got the freaking landlord riding my ass for the last $40 I owe her. So, pray for me. Alright, folks, you are going to see the link to this report right there in the description box alongside the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the tin plates, and the self-explanatory and the ever-present self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Now, folks, when we talk about the JRC/BRI, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? Now we're going to rewind time a little bit. We're going to go back to when the JRC was known as the Behavioral Research Institute. We are going back to 1979. This is a report done by New York State now. So if there's some very antiquated ableist terminology in here, now you know why. All right? Okay. So here we go, folks. The January site visitation team from the State Department of Education and Office of Mental Retardation and Developmental Disabilities has completed its report on the Behavioral Research Institute, Providence, Rhode Island. We trust that this will supplement and reinforce the verbal and anecdotal reports which were given to you immediately upon our return from that school, which serves autistic and other developmentally disabled children. The Behavioral Research Institute, BRI, Providence, Rhode Island, was visited by an interdisciplinary team from the Office of Mental Retardation and Developmental Disabilities on January 9th, 10th, and 11th, 1979. Authorization to conduct the visit and notification to BRI was provided by the State Education Department, accompanied a regional associate from the State Education Department accompanied the team to BRI on the first day of the visit. One purpose of this visitation was to conduct an unannounced follow-up visit to a November 1978 on-site assessment of the BRI program, which was carried out by a New York State interagency group. As a result of the findings of this interagency group, a lengthy report was prepared and submitted to Dr. Matthew Israel, Director of Behavioral Research Institute, citing areas which education and treatment program of that school did not comply with New York State law and New York State Commissioner of Education Rules and Regulations. Who's shocked? Who's shocked? As a result of the November visit, BRI was asked to modify its program, to redirect its utilization of staff and facilities, to bring its services into compliance with appropriate federal and state mandates. BRI has been notified that an unannounced site visit would be made to evaluate its progress on these matters. On an additional important purpose of the January visitation was to observe individually the 14 New York State children currently residing at BRI and to conduct physiological educational assessments of these individuals. Such evaluation was necessary to assess the appropriateness of the BRI program and to plan for those youngsters should they return to New York in the near future. The following report is intended to supplement the initial site visitation report and will not repeat in detail the basic descriptions or regulatory deficiencies cited in that report. See November Site Visitation Report, Letter to Dr. Matthew Israel, December the 15th, 1978. The present report will focus on any changes which had occurred since the November visitation and any areas of observation not noted in the November report. The January team carried out its responsibility by performing the following functions during the 3-day visitation: participating in a tour and general overview of the BRI program, viewing BRI admission films, both the prepared films and some edited films of New York State clients, conducting individual physiological and educational assessments of all New York State students, performing classroom observations of all New York students on an individual basis, reviewing each client record, observing either evening or morning each residence which accommodates youngsters from New York, and holding brief discussions with Dr. Israel and lengthy discussions with staff, the assistants to the director, the education consultant, the lead teacher, the lead treatment programmer, the registered nurse, and some of the teachers, treatment coordinators, and treatment workers. The BRI staff was generally cooperative during the visit and provided assistance during the testing procedures. They obtained necessary records for review. Well, that's a first. Dr. Israel stated BRI wished to make certain that the visitation team was not denied access to pertinent information. Nevertheless, relations between BRI staff and the visitation team became increasingly strained during the 3 days. During that period, articles appeared in several newspapers regarding the controversy over the treatment program administered at BRI. So this is getting interesting. We'll kind of keep it short and sweet here, because I have at least another video to do today. Basically, what this report is in regards to doing what Massachusetts seems to never do, which is follow-ups to see if what has been suggested has actually been implemented or not. And even better, New York thinks to actually make sure that those are unannounced visits. And it doesn't really surprise me that as days went on with the unannounced visits, that things got more and more testy. The BRI and now the JRC, they have a long history of hiding things and obstructing justice. Now, don't they? Don't they, though? So it's going to be interesting to take this look back in time, especially in regards to this being a follow-up, and see just how much the JRC has never really changed. Times have changed, medications have changed, pharmacology therapy has changed, but the JRC has not. And that will be a very interesting overview to go over. I find it interesting that out of all the states that continue to send kids to this school, that it's New York that rides the JRC's ass more than anyone. And I have to say, it gives me some sort of hope for the East Coast that New York rides and watches them so closely, because they seem to be the only individuals who do, and they seem to be the only people that do anything to protect any of those students at all. So this is going to be an interesting series to get started in, and I kind of look forward to go through this and find out the consistencies that are still going on right to this day, how much we could sit this side by side with the 2006 report they did. Interesting times, as Tug would say. All right, we're going to close out, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject, and the few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this evening, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.